everybody. Welcome to the Minimalist Podcast, where we discuss what it means to live a meaningful life with less. My name is Joshua Fields Milburn.
My name's Ryan Nicodemus, and together we're the Minimalists.
We're here with Malabama.
Hi, everybody.
TK Coleman's
Have
here.
a holly jolly Christmas.
Oh, happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Ryan was going around saying Happy Kwanzaa today for some reason. Whatever you celebrate, I've got something for you. It's a mistletoe alert.
Oh, no.
Come here, Nicodemus.
I would hate if that was over you and I, Josh.
Well, that's the gift I have for Ryan today. Big thanks to Malabama for bringing in this. I don't think it's technically mistletoe, so I guess you don't have to kiss me. Those are the rules.
It looks like holly. It looks like the plant holly.
I don't even know her.
Holly who?
We have a special gift for our listeners today. We decided to close our studio for the holidays, so we're recording this in advance. But the gift we're going to give you is the gift of community. Yeah. We've done this for the last 4 months or so. We called them Sunday Symposiums. If you're listening to the free public minimal edition of episode 372, you're going to hear about a quarter of that event. It's standalone. You'll get a ton of value from it. We answer a bunch of really thoughtful and important questions from folks who are seeking some answers and going through some difficult times. We see that with community, though. That's what community does. And TK pointed this out to me early on. There's something that we achieve through these events that we've been doing. We call them Sunday Symposiums. We're gathering Sundays at noon in Los Angeles with a small crowd of about 200 people. And we're just experiencing our time together. And each event is appreciably different. But the thing that's the same is a lot of suffering tends to come to the surface. Don't you think, TK?
Yeah, that's right, man. I mean, there's no substitute for like real-time contact, connection, and conversation. It's sort of like having a meeting that we schedule versus just being in the same place and talking about what comes up. And when you do that with people, there are so many interesting things that come up, things that are worth celebrating, things that are worth analyzing, things that are worth comforting one another about. And it's just such a powerful experience, man. If you haven't had a chance to do this when we come back, you got to join us. You really do.
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's funny you bring up the suffering. Well, not funny, haha. But it just hit me like we're all suffering in some way. And what's nice about these events is that, I almost look at it as like a celebration of the suffering.
Yes.
And a lot of people, they think they're alone in it. And I think, the people who come to these events, they realize that they're not alone in the suffering. We're all suffering in some way, shape, or form. And we're just trying to soothe that suffering a little bit.
If you want to hear the whole event, you can find it over on Patreon. Just click the link in the description or visit patreon.com/theminimalists. It's a couple hours long. And by the way, we release all of our live events over on Patreon as well for our true fan tier. But this one's going out to all of our Patreon subscribers. It's a big thank you. It's our Christmas gift to you. Shout out to our entire team, Jordan for filming it. We have Professor Sean, who did the audio, podcast Sean, and post-production Peter, who took care of it, made it sound and look beautiful for you. Danny, of course, put together all the TikToks. And Mallory did everything else. Thank you, Malabama.
I don't know what we'd do without these folks.
It's my
yes,
pleasure.
indeed. So enjoy this special gift. We call it Sunday Symposium. And if you want to come to a future one, just sign up for our email list over at theminimalists.com. We'll let you know when the next one is. Appreciate you. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Cheers.
Howdy, what's your name?
Hi, my name's Nicole, and this is my third symposium. So
Awesome.
Thank you for doing this. So as we approach the end of the year, it's pretty inevitable to look back and think about what we accomplished, frustrations, or even things that we wish we would have done differently. So how can you let go of some of that guilt and shame and beating ourselves up, comparing, ourselves to what we wanted to accomplish throughout the year?
And this is what I was talking about in the essay. We are so addicted to sort of prescriptions, right? How do I let go? And letting go is not something you do, right? If I were to hand you this microphone right now, and I said, how do you let go of it? What would you do?
I have no idea. Oh, the microphone, I'll just give it to someone else.
Oh, so you okay. That's one way to do it. That's actually great, because that's not what I was thinking, right? And that's my point, is I can't give you 7 steps to let go of the microphone. The only way to let go of the microphone, intuitively, I'll give it to someone else. I'd just drop it, whatever it is, right? If you found out that microphone in your hand was a snake, would you ask me, how do I let this go?
No.
No, of course not. You would drop it immediately. And the reason you would drop it is because you have all the information you need to stop clinging at that moment. You thought it was one thing, but now it's another thing. Isn't that the same thing with the regrets of the last year, the triumphs of the last year as well? We want to let those go also. It's not just about letting go of the things that are unpleasant to us, but by letting go of the things that are even pleasant to us allows us more room for the things that continue to be pleasant for us, right? And so you don't need to know how to let go. As soon as you see the thing that you want to let go of, you just have to stop clinging to it. That's all.
Yeah. I personally struggle with like beating myself up over past mistakes and regrets. And, I think I do it more than probably others do, or maybe not. Maybe that's just in my head. But, the other
That's
night.
the ego.
Yeah.
I'm better at regretting.
Right. Well, it's funny to say that, but like I was in bed, couldn't sleep. This is like a week ago. And I start to always like go over all the embarrassing moments of my life and all the regrets. I don't know why I do this when I can't sleep, because it just helps me not sleep more, but like that's where my brain goes.
Same here.
Yeah. So I can totally relate to this. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, why do I beat myself up? Like these are all things that I've apologized for, that I've been forgiven for, that I moved past. Like, why am I bringing myself back to this state of guilt? And I said to myself, well, you must like it. And I'm like, what? No, there's no way I like it. Like, that's so stupid. And I was like, well, dude, you come here quite often. You come back for a reason. And what I realized is that for me, my guilt, it is sanctimonious. Like, I look at it as a virtue. And I think it has something to do with when I was a kid being raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, they teach you basically the more guilty you feel, the more sorry that you are, the more in favor of God you are. So it was huge for me. And I'll tell you, like, now when I start to feel guilty about stuff, I have to ask myself, like, why am I putting myself through this? Because ultimately, the best way to stop feeling guilty is, well, to stop doing things that make you feel guilty. Yeah.
I forget the name of it, but there's a horror film where
It's Freddy versus Jason.
Child's Play 3. No, that's not it. Where the guy is being haunted by this ghost, and it's freaking him out. And he's changed houses. He's tried to address this problem in every way possible. And one day he decides to see a therapist about it. And the therapist says, have you ever stopped to ask the ghost why it's haunting you? And it's like, wait a minute. Okay, if this ghost wanted to kill me, he would have already done so. He's followed me from house to house. I probably can't escape him. I've tried everything else. So instead of trying to get rid of the ghost, maybe I should confront the ghost and say, what the hell do you want from me? And see what's there. I think the best way to let something go is to figure out what aspects of that thing are worth holding on to. And when you figure that out, you're able to take what's useful from it, own it and embrace it, and then let go of what remains, because you're not letting go of something that you need. If something's bothering you from your past, you feel like you made a mistake, you feel like you had a failure, you're not supposed to just push that away. You're not supposed to just suppress that. You're not supposed to just make yourself forget about it or pretend like it didn't happen. You're supposed to wrestle with that. You're supposed to sort that out. You're supposed to be present with that and say, what the hell are you trying to teach me, ghost? You're haunting me for a reason. I've tried everything I can to get rid of you. What are you trying to teach me? And we may find something, some kernel of truth about ourselves and about what we value and about what we care about or what we need to own up to from those failures. And when you can take that and own it and say, okay, then the ghost will stop haunting you and it'll let you go and you won't have to let it go. So I would say don't try to push past those failures and those regrets. Visit them, sit with them, and let those regrets be your teacher, because there's some aspect of that that you need to hold on to because it's going to serve you well in the future that you want to create.
Yeah. I've been working really hard to like make friends with my guilt, with my anxiety, with my stress. Because I'm so good at just like shoving it in a corner. But yeah, sitting with it it's a much more powerful approach for sure.
We got a question up here in the front row. Also in the front row is our good friend, the very talented filmmaker, Jordan No More. Let's give him a round of applause. Howdy, what's your name?
Hi, Rachel.
Hey, Rachel.
I was going to test TK on that, but...
Rachel gave me the walking book as my gift to moving to California.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so big shout out. Thank you, Rachel.
Hope it's valuable to you. So I wrote out my statement/question so I wouldn't screw it up. And then I showed my new friend, and he's like, well, that's way too long. So I did edits. So, so I'm going to try to tone it down. I first wanted to thank you for hosting these events and for all you do to add value to my life and others. I apparently lived under a rock for 47 years because I only discovered you 2 years ago. So it's very bad. My question, the new year is upon us. I will not ask you a resolution question. What guidance would you give about what we can do starting today to relook at what we are currently doing when it comes to minimalism to improve our processes without becoming compulsive?
I'm going to take a sharp right turn. You don't need to improve anything. It's one of the greatest lies that you've been told, is that you need to improve yourself. You need to improve your things. You need to improve your house. You need to improve your situation. Okay, sure. There are times where we fall down into a crater. We go into debt because we've made some poor decisions. I know I've certainly made a lot of poor decisions and got into a lot of debt. And so improving in that sense doesn't actually mean improving yourself. It means getting out of the situation in which you've already put yourself in, right? And so advertisers do a really good job of teaching you that you need to improve yourself, that you are incomplete, that you are less than, that you are not your best self, right? Maybe you're not your best self, but it's only because of the other essay I was reading earlier about subtraction. Our best self gets covered up by all of these distractions, accoutrements, material possessions, expectations, toxic relationships, things that make us lesser than our ideal self. And so it's not about doing anything or acquiring anything to become that best self. It's about subtracting everything that's cluttering our lives in the first place.
You know, I'm with that. I wouldn't go into my new year with the assumption that improving my life ought to be my number one priority. Instead, I would focus on, how am I already kicking ass? You know, what am I already doing well? It's so interesting because with a lot of my high school students, the hardest thing I'll ever ask them to do is to make a list of like 10 things they've done in the past year that they're proud of. And everyone gets stuck at one. We're so bad at thinking about things that we do well, and we're just so amazing at critiquing ourselves and evaluating ourselves. But here's the interesting thing. You can't get better unless you build on a foundation of what's already worth working with, right? How can you get anywhere useful in life unless you say, okay, I found a starting point upon which to build, and this starting point is worth working with?
So in what way are you already worth working with? In what way have you already built a foundation that's worth building on? Like, I would look back on my year and say, what did I do right? What am I proud of? In what way am I kicking ass? What's something that I did that was amazing that I like to keep doing? And I also add a little rule to it. One of my, I had a boss named Asogi when I used to work at Papado Seafood Kitchen. He had a no stories policy. So whenever you needed something, no stories. You just tell him what you need. So you can't go, hey, Asogi, like the man at table 66, he really didn't like his shrimp and I need it. No stories. What do you need? I need a side of shrimp for table 66. That's it. I would say, do a no stories policy with what you did well. So instead of saying like, even though my life was really crappy, I did manage to show up for my kids. Even though I was tired all the time, I did manage to be nice towards other people. Even though I didn't do it as much as I wanted to, I did manage to work on my projects. Nope, I worked on my projects. I showed up for my kids, treated my friends with respect. I took care of my health. I did this right. I did this right. And I think that'll orient you towards the world in a way that just makes it easier to keep doing, to keep building on what's already working.
Josh, I love what you tweet every January 1st. It's day one or one day.
You decide.
Yeah. And, there are things that maybe we need to improve on health-wise or whatever it is financially. Maybe we got to pay off some debt. But, if we can get clear on the what, on the why, what we're trying to work towards, the what kind of unfolds. But, you don't need January 1st to start, though. I mean, it is nice to have start points, don't get me wrong. But you can start today.
By the way, you can only start today. You can't start tomorrow because when tomorrow comes around, it will be today. There is only now. And it's the lie we tell ourselves we're going to start someday, as though that's a day of the week, right? And then someday arrives, and we put it off. And Ryan has this great joke that he said he's going to make his Twitter bio. I'll put that on my to-do list tomorrow. And that's quite often what we do, especially with New Year's resolutions, or it doesn't have to be New Year's. Any other time, I'll begin that on the first of the month, or I'll begin it next week. I often know someone isn't serious about making some sort of change in their life, and this isn't a judgment. I don't care what changes you make. If you don't want to make it, please don't make it. But a serious person takes now as the opportunity for the change. A serious person, and by the way, it's not good or bad to be serious, but a serious person recognizes that now is literally the only time I can make a change. And there'll be future nows. But even the past, when you think about the past, when do you think about it? Right now. So the past exists, but it exists in the now. And yes, tomorrow will exist, but in the now. And so any change you want to make, it's always going to happen right now. Howdy, what's your name?
Laura.
Hey, Laura.
Hi, nice to meet you.
You as well.
So I have a question about family relationships, okay? Broken family relationships that maybe are a priority is to fix in this coming new year. And relationships are two-way streets. So I'm thinking I have a 16-year-old son, 16 and a half, who lives with his dad. And we're kind of estranged, but I put out breadcrumbs,
The dad or the son are estranged?
The son.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a good relationship with the dad. So, I keep throwing out crumbs, but they don't really get picked up. And I want to give him the freedom to pick up this relationship when he's ready. But if we're dealing with a mother or a sister or these kind of uncomfortable family situations, what is your advice?
I don't have any advice, but I will tell you that...
tips for relationships?
I have no tips for you. I have no how-tos. I have nothing to prescribe. I have no hope for you.
What about strategies?
Tools.
No, none of those either. So I do have some insights and some support. There we go. Let's lean on these insights here. First off, he may never be ready. I think we have to understand that first. Because something happened that severed the relationship at some point in time. And I'm not fault finding here. That actually does no good whatsoever, right? Fault finding. Now, you can see where the relationship bifurcated, but it probably bifurcated way before you thought it did. And people often hang on to a relationship. There's examples of dead marriages, right? That, we're still together. We've been together for 30 years, but the relationship's been dead for 20 or 25 or 29. And so we continue to hold on. Well, why is that? Just a moment ago, I said, I don't have any hope for you. Part of it has to do with hope. Hope is one of the most dangerous things that we have, because it says I have some expectation about some future outcome. And now I'm tethering my peace, my salvation, my happiness to whatever other thing is I'm hoping for, right? That's one way to look at hope. Now there's present moment hope, the feeling of hopefulness that occurs right now that has nothing to do with some future outcome. I'm all for that kind of hope, right? But for the kind of hope that is really just goal setting, but with a prettier name, that can become a prison for you. And the reason I say he may never be ready is you have to accept that first. There may be no hope in the relationship. Now, why do I say that? It sounds really demoralizing, right? Like, why the hell is he telling her this? Because as soon as we can accept that, what is that? Acceptance is how we love. To love someone is to see them for who they are without trying to change them, manipulate them, persuade them, coerce them to your point of view, right? Well, what is that? That is acceptance. Things are, what the thing that TK would say is like, it's whatever God's will is, maybe, like someone from his perspective.
I would make it a little more Brian McKnight sounding than that. Later.
Oh, yeah. He would say it with a much deeper voice than that. But Eckhart Tolle would say, it is as it is.
Right.
That's what acceptance is right now. Your relationship is as it is right now. And if you need it to be any other way, then it won't be that other way. But if you make room for it to be another way, what you're basically saying is you've dropped some breadcrumbs. I get that. Maybe the metaphor I would think of is you've opened the door for him, right? And he may not be ready for it right now, but you can keep that door open. You can let him know that that door is open. Because anything else, dragging him through the door, kicking and screaming, will not get you the result that you want.
Yeah, the only thing I might add to that was beautiful. Like just leaving that door open. And hope's a tool, and you got to be careful how you use it. But ultimately, in a situation, like that, any situation really, like the more compassion you can show someone, the more you show your support, and that will leave the door open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he ultimately has to walk through it.
Absolutely.
In a relationship, they have to meet you halfway, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
100%. Yeah.
You mentioned that you have left out breadcrumbs and he's not really picking up on it. Would you mind painting a picture for me? I like to know, what does I've laid out breadcrumbs look like for you?
Yeah.
And what does he's not picking up on it look like for him?
Well, we live about 10 minutes away on the same street, so maybe it'll be like a really hot day, right? And I have a pool at my place, and I'll be like, "Hey, if you want to come over for a swim, I can pick you up, thanks, or hey, if you want to come over for dinner, I'll make you something really yummy. Okay, thanks. You want to go to a thing like a movie, right? No, I don't want to go see a movie. So just, I keep trying different things. Now, that said, he did come to Portland with me, so it's not totally closed off. And I think we had a nice time. But when I said, hey, would you like to go to Portland again next summer? Oh, no, I got, all these excuses. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm trying to keep the distance. I'm okay because I notice that when we do make plans, I get a lot of anxiety around it. And I realize that I'm just re-traumatizing myself. So I'm like, maybe I should just give space to it.
Can I just butt in real quick? Because you're making me think about the timing of this. He's 16, right?
Yeah.
So, as teenagers, we're better at letting go than any other times in our lives. Because there's a necessary attachment you have when you're a baby. You actually need your parents, right? But somewhere around puberty, we start going through this process of detaching. And sometimes it's rather destructive, and we don't realize what we're doing. Sometimes it's something simple. We're thumbing our nose at our parents like, oh, that my parents really want me to go to school for math, but I went there for philosophy. Haha, mom and dad, take that. Other times with me, it's like you accidentally set the house on fire. And so, literally. But what are we doing there? We're showing how independent we are. I no longer need you. I'm no longer attached to you. And as a mother, I understand that is the most difficult thing, right? And that's why I hear all the emotion in your voice, because there's a part of us who want the other person's attachment to us. I remember I was dating someone once, and I explained to her, like, yeah, I really like this, but I don't need this relationship. She goes, I know you don't. I wish you just needed a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And by not needing it, though, it allowed me to show up as the best version of me, because I don't need to be here with this event right now. There's a million other things I could be doing. I get to do this. And so the next time you get to do something with your son, not needing that attachment will open it up for flourishing.
I love that.
Made me think about my relationship with my godson, man. Like, there was just something going on where I just was not cool enough for this dude. And whenever I'd be like, what's up, man? He'd be like, or I'd be like, give me a pound, man. And he'd be like, what's that? Like, oh, man, I guess, you know, and I didn't actually get close to him until I just, like, made up my mind, like, I do not care about this guy. And so I, like, go sit next to him, and he'd say something to me. I'd be like, psh, I don't care about that. And then we just started to get really close. So some of that really does work. But you mentioned these communications. Are they usually, like, text, phone calls? I'm just curious.
Sometimes...
Yeah.
I'll text him, and if I don't hear back from him after, sometimes it'll be 2 hours or sometimes 4 hours. And if it's, you know, if it's plans I'm trying to make, I will call him.
Yeah.
But I'd both.
Okay. All right. So a couple of things. One of the things I noticed about the pattern and the breadcrumbs is that they all seem to be ask, like pretty big
Right.
ask.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
That's true.
do you want to hang out with me doing
true.
this particular thing? And it seems like he's kind of made it clear that for the most part, that's not something that he's interested in doing. I would recommend a couple of things. When making ask like that, I would perhaps make them so that no response is necessary. But if he wants to be involved, the door is open, right? So, hey, going to pick up some food. If you want anything, let me know. No pressure. Done, right? A couple of weeks later, like, hey, FYI, know it's hot outside. If you ever want to come by, use the pool. Ain't even got to let me know. No pressure, right? That way, if he doesn't reply, it's not a scandal for you or for him. And it's just letting him know that your resources are available. Doing that every once in a while, you know, kind of lets him know, hey, we're good on my end, right? And that's a cool thing to do as long as it's not overdone. But one thing I would propose is maybe seeking to connect over something that doesn't require him to take a field trip with you. How's it going? Mm-hmm. You know, hey, how you doing? Like, maybe just show interest in him. Like, you don't have to go anywhere with me. We don't have to go get a cup of coffee. We don't have to go see a movie, anything like that. Just curious. How's it going? And give him the freedom to be as quiet and non-detailed about that as he wants to be. It's you just putting the feeler out there. You're not forcing him. If he wants to talk, he'll talk. If he doesn't want to talk, that's okay too. But I think it's important to establish a pattern of communication that says connecting with me doesn't always have to involve taking a field trip. It could just involve something small, something low cost, like saying hello. I think that might change the energy around it. But like Josh said, continue to be patient. Let him know that you're there. Whatever you do, don't get mad at him for being who he is. Don't get to a point where you're like, you know what? I've offered you breakfast 50 times. Forget it, man. I'm done. Because sometimes we need someone to just persist without being overbearing and letting us know, like, hey, you can ignore me as much as you need, man. I still got your back,
The context that you're holding with that of I'm here for you when you need it, like, I feel as a parent, like, that's the best you can do.
Yeah.
Rob Bell, I just look up to him as being a father. I don't have any kids, but, when Mariah and I finally have some kids, like, I hope I can hold this context, which is his number one goal is to enjoy his kids. So whenever he's, through thick or thin, he's holding that context of like, I just want to enjoy our relationship and enjoy you as my child. And I think by doing that, regardless of the situation, if that is coming through, I mean, that's the best way you can kind of keep holding that door open. I love like the low barrier, like just, hey, whatever. The pool's open when you need it. But the one thing I might try it if, and this isn't advice, it's just an observation. Have you ever tried asking him? Like, because clearly you want to provide something for him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just asking him, like, is there anything that you need?
Oh, yeah.
And if he says no, then be like, then that's great. Like, if I was having trouble buying Josh a Christmas present right now, December 25th is coming up. Hey, Josh, what do you need for Christmas?
Nothing.
Oh, my God, what a relief.
I want to bring a special guest onto the stage real quick to send you off with a message of love. Can you welcome my 9-year-old daughter, Ella, to the stage? She would like to give you a little kind, loving, departing message. What do you want to say, Ella?
Love people, use things, because the opposite never works.
Thank you so much, y'all. We'll be back out in a minute.
Every little thing you think that you need. Every little thing you think that you need. Every little thing that's just feeding your greed. Oh, I bet that you'd be fine without it.